Good morning and welcome to another week and another edition of Monday Motivations with me, Pastor Pete. I want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you are interested in getting the Monday Motivations delivered right to your inbox and so much more, join our Patreon community. There is a link in the description down below. All right, here's what I want to jump into today. 7 things. I've got 7 things and I'm going to keep this short. I want to tell you about the 7 things that destroy relationships. 7 things that cause our love for others and their love for us to go awry so often. So let me talk just a little bit about these so you can avoid them. Hopefully, you can avoid these 7 things this week or be on the lookout for them so you don't have your relationships damaged or destroyed by them. Here's the first one: mistakes. Mistakes happen. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. People make mistakes. And so often, even honest mistakes turn into huge, destructive turmoil in our lives and in our relationships. So do your best this week not to make a mistake. And if somebody around you does make a mistake, which they're going to, give them some grace, give them some mercy, give them some space, accept their apology, and move on. Here's the second one: misunderstandings. I can't tell you how many times people just have misunderstandings. It happens all the time. Sometimes one person just misunderstands the other person. They thought they said something. They thought they looked at them a certain way, whatever it was. Maybe it was a text message or an email that just wasn't received right. Something was misunderstood, and it caused some friction in the relationship. So do your best not to have misunderstandings because they will damage your relationships. Whether it's with a husband, a spouse, a son, a daughter, a friend, a coworker, it just happens. So we've got to watch out for those misunderstandings. Number 3, misrepresentations. Sometimes people just aren't who they say they are. You know, that picture you saw on farmersonly.com, it wasn't really them. So that would be a classic example, right? But sometimes we do this, particularly with new people and new relationships. We misrepresent ourselves or they misrepresent themselves. It doesn't have to be in a dating relationship. It could be in business or really any way, shape, or form. Sometimes we just misrepresent ourselves, and that will always come back to bite you if you choose to do that. Number 4, misperceptions. Sometimes we just assume stuff. We interpret things the wrong way, and we misinterpret things, and that in turn turns out to damage our relationships, because most of the time our misinterpretations or our misperceptions turn out to be wrong, and sometimes the damage is already done. Number 5, misbehavior. I don't have to talk about this one very much. Just doing things that are wrong, misbehaving. This looks like 1,000 different things in 1,000 different relationships, but it's easy to misbehave. And when we misbehave with other people, it always comes back to damage or destroy the relationship. Number 6, misfortune. Sometimes stuff just happens. Sometimes unfortunate things just happen. Sometimes random, totally unintentional misfortune happens. You didn't see it coming, the other person didn't see it coming, but it happens, and all of a sudden your relationship that was going so great, again, this isn't romantic relationships only, but any kind of relationship, something misfortunate happens, and now all of a sudden that relationship has been damaged or destroyed. Misfortune is a huge one. And here's number 7, the last one: misinformed. Sometimes we just don't wait for the facts. Sometimes we assume things. Sometimes we jump to conclusions. Sometimes our misinformation turns out to be totally wrong and not even close to being right. But the damage is done, the destruction has already happened, and the relationships are already being hampered. So watch out. Mistakes, misunderstandings, misrepresentations, misperceptions, misbehavior, misfortune, and being misinformed. These are the things that will get you into trouble this week with your relationships. avoid them and you'll be better for it. If they happen, when they happen, not if, because they're going to. Man, forgive, forget, move on, show some love, show some grace, show some mercy. Do your best to make sure you don't do these things with your relationships, but they're going to happen. So be ready for them when they do, and douse them with a dose of love and forgiveness and mercy, and that will go a long way. Listen, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for joining me, Pastor Pete, for another edition of Monday Motivations. God bless you. Let me know how I can pray for you. We'll talk to you next week.